Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning.
All right, excellent. We'll get started in about 2.5 minutes. We'll get started, about 2 minutes past the top of the hour. I know we're all in different time zones. I'm going to hand the mic over to Rashawn Ferrier in just a little bit. So we have several other members of the DGA team also. You're in good hands. I remember sitting in your seat at a PI meeting and learning all this good information, which was extremely useful. And it's been a privilege to work with them now that I'm inside the house at NSF. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, Emmanuel. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Manuel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Now, who's in the most Western time zone on this call right now? Anybody from Pacific time? Is everyone at Eastern time or Central time?
We've got a couple from New Mexico.
Okay. Mountain time. I always forget Mountain time.
Yeah, I'm from Central Time.
Central time. I'm in Central time also. Puerto Rico is in Eastern time. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right.
No, they're further, right? They're later.
They're
1
later.
hour further than Eastern time.
It's 1 p.m. here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's good.
Only in the summertime, we're the same.
Ah, okay. So good afternoon to some, good morning to others.
Everyone.
Hi, Rita. Victor.
They hear you, Victor.
All right, it's 2 minutes past the top of the hour. I'm going to ask everyone to mute their microphones. And we have the pleasure and privilege of having DGA leading this particular session. We have Rashawn Ferrier leading this. He is the senior grant, what's the official title? The senior grants officer in DGA?
That is correct. Yes.
All
Also
right.
known as the team lead.
As a team lead, thank you. He's an Aggie from North Carolina A&T, which is all good in my mind. I exchanged some messages with him recently about the North Carolina A&T track team had the fastest time in the 4x4 in the country, the #1. All right, so you're in very good hands. He was previously at the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. He's been in NSF for almost 14 years now, I believe. I'm looking at your LinkedIn page.
Oh,
so
that's where you looking. Like, where you got all this information from?
Yeah, exactly. LinkedIn comes in here.
LinkedIn, you
Right.
all right. That's
Right. So I'm going to start running my mouth. I'm going to leave your hand on the expert. I'm going to let Rashawn introduce the rest of his team, and I'm going to turn the screen over to him. Thank you.
No problem. So good afternoon, everyone. Since it's actually noon over here on Eastern Standard Time, it is my pleasure and my distinct honor to introduce the Division of Grants and Agreements. These guys are your go-tos. We pretty much help you get the award. If you have any questions in the process of however long you have your award, any questions, you contact us. So with further ado, I would like to introduce Denise Martin, who is the EHR MPS branch chief. You have Cartia Brown Morgan, who is a grant officer for the DRL and DGE division within the EHR. And we have your actual grant officer, Ms. Janelle Gossi, who is the actual EHR HRD DUE grant officer. So she's been on detail for the last 120 days. And today is her last day on detail. So guess who has to do the presentation? Me. But she'll be back on Monday. So all those questions you may have that we can't answer, she will be answering them for you. So without that, let's go ahead and get into the conversation. I'd like to go through the presentation, and then if you can, just go ahead and put your questions in the chat box, and then we'll go through all your questions. If it's something related to the slide or if it's another subject, feel free to put your questions in, because I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to answer those questions that you probably want to know, but you didn't ask. So this will be your opportunity. So you have me for a full hour. So without that, I will go to the presentation. So go here. All right. Can everyone see? Yes, we're good. Everyone can see? All right, perfect.
Yes, yes.
All right. So basically this whole presentation is just to give you an opportunity about how to handle a grant once you get it. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming because the dwell time from the point that you submitted your proposal and now you actually have the award is usually around 6 to 8 months. So now that you have the award, you're trying to figure out, well, how do I manage the award? So this is your opportunity, and I'm trying to give you just some really just quick little tips about how to handle it. You have my information. If you need any of the other officers' information, we'll make sure we get that to you as well. Okay, so what are the responsibilities once you get the award? Remember, and I love saying this, the relationship is between you, the grantee. Remember I said the grantee, I didn't say you individually, and the institution. So grantees call and say, well, Rashawn, my award, and I laugh in my head. I don't laugh in front of you or anything like that, but the award goes to the institution. If something goes wrong and you decide to go to another institution, the award doesn't have to go with you because those rights and privileges are to the grantee institution. The grantee institution is also responsible for adhering to all the terms and conditions of the award. What does that mean? If there's anything on that notice of award, notice that you get when you actually receive your award, if there's anything that you are not familiar with or you need clarification on, that is when you need to call us, ask us any questions about any terms and conditions, because once you draw down that first dollar, you are now bound into that agreement. So you want to make sure that you are doing that. And I know you're looking at me saying, I didn't hear my timer, so sorry about that. So just make sure that you're aware of that. Who is the Office of Sponsor Programs? They are, I always say, your triple threat, your ally, your advocate, and your advisor. So many times grantees feel like we're trying to stifle or hinder, slow down the process of your science. I promise you that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that you don't get in any kind of trouble, because trust me, we have an Office of the Office of Inspector General, and they deal with criminal activities related to grants. I don't want you ever to even be in that conversation. So the Office of Sponsor Programs, they actually keep you abreast of all the university policies and procedures and guidelines, and also as federal guidelines. So sometimes PIs will try to call and say, well, my institution will not allow me to do this. Well, they're saying that because it's probably something that's already in policies and procedures that make you, that you can't do it because of those things. So they're not your enemy, they're your ally. Another thing, a lot of times I notice that grantees in the Office of Sponsor Research Office do not really communicate. And you really need to, because they're your go-to persons. If there's a quick question, sometimes you try to skip your institution contacts and come straight to us. We don't mind that, but sometimes if you just ask your Office of Sponsor Program officers or your authorized business officials in the Office of Sponsor Programs, they can answer those questions for you. But you need to have those meetings. Once you get that award, you should definitely have a meeting of a tag up. Let's see what the award says. Have we worked up the budget? Have things changed since we were actually awarded the grant? And now, do we need to make any changes? These are things that are integral to being successful. You have to stay in constant communication, because if you don't stay in constant communication, it rears its ugly head in the most subtle ways once we start figuring out PIs calling, asking questions that they didn't even talk to their campus leaders in the Office of Sponsor programs. So participant support. This is one of those unique categories to the foundation. And we always get a lot of questions about participant support. So I'm gonna try to make it as simple as possible. So can you rebudget? Yes, you can rebudget. When I say rebudget, what do I mean? You can move money into participant support, right? So let's say if you had money in salaries and you wanted to fund another 5 students to do a poster presentation at a conference, you could move that money into participant support without NSF prior approval. Now, on the flip side, say you want to take money out of participant support. You can't do that without NSF prior approval. And I have some slides for you later on that will show you, who you need to contact, things of that nature. Also, you can move items within, but the line item F4, which is other, those costs will need to be, if you're moving those costs, those need to be talked to over with your program officer, things of that nature. And there's a actual FastLane research.gov request, which is a reallocation of participant support. Also, cannot be teachers. They can be, unless it was like in a school district, that would be the only situation where you could do that. Speakers, trainers, chaperones are not participants. Participant support also saying if you want to give a gift card or pay them for participating and you want to give a gift card. Those are incentive payments. Make sure that you have policies and procedures in place to support it. And how do you support it? What's the eligibility of your participant? Is there an age? Is there a GPA requirement? Are you targeting certain demographics? Things like that. All of that needs to be spelled out through your institution policies and procedures because you want to be consistent. And that's another key word that I want you to make sure you hold on to: consistency. Everything you do should be consistent. You don't want to have one grant where you have participant support, you're doing one thing, and then another award, you're doing a total opposite. So make sure whatever you're doing, you're following your institution's policies and procedures, okay? So prior approvals. Now, if you don't know this nice little image, this is what I call my little Bible. This is what I keep. This is my desktop. This is the proposal and award policies and procedures guide. And this is, I always tell grantees to bookmark this. You can Google it, NSF-20-1. It's going to pop up. Save it to your desktop as a PDF. And if you have any questions, I'm going to give you a great tip. Control F. That's it. Control F, type in the subject matter, and it's going to give you everything you need. Sometimes when you guys call and you ask me a question, that's what I do. So it's like, okay, well, I can help you out. But if you still need a little more clarification, by all means, feel free to give me a call. Okay, so I remember I was just talking about participant support. So this very first one that you see, additional categories of participant support costs other than described. So incentives, gifts, t-shirts, etc. So there's a request that you can put in the research.gov, and basically it will go through the program office, and that would be that. And there's another one saying the reallocation of participant support. That was the other one that I was talking about earlier. So you can keep these, and it's just a really great way of just connecting the policy reference to where do you go to actually submit the requests. And they go all over. So we have withdrawal of PI, substitute PI, long-term disengagement, etc. Okay. Grantee no-cost extensions. We'll go through that in a few minutes, but this is just basically for you. So when you get this presentation, you can have this as a quick resource guide. So I hope this helps you. Okay, rebudgeting. So a lot of times grantees, will call, send an email saying that their Office of Sponsor Research will not allow them to rebudget, and they need a email or approval from us. You do not need NSF prior approval except participant support, or if the change is deemed a change in scope. So saying if you had 99% of your money in one category, and now you're going to take that 99% out and move it to another category. Okay, well, the proposal was reviewed and panel reviewed based off of this budget. The fact that you're going to change it could be deemed a change in scope or objective. And you would just need to send in a request, and basically it will go through the program. The program officer would review your request, and then you would get an amendment from the Division of Grants and Agreements showing that we acknowledge that there was the change in scope. Okay, so you do not need NSF prior approval for rebudgeting. Okay, so no cost extensions. You do not need, I get a lot of questions about saying you just got the award and you already know you need another year. You do not ask for a no cost extension in the beginning of your grant. You wait until the day, 45 days prior, and then you submit the request, okay? Another thing, you cannot use it for unspent funds. If you say that in the request, I promise you we would deny the request, because the no cost extension is for you as the grantee institution to continue the award, okay? So you must make sure that whatever you're doing, for when you have to have money remaining, and you must have activities that you need to complete the goals and objectives of the project, okay? So make sure that you do it. Now, on these two blocks, the grantee approved no cost extension, okay, that's what I call, like in Monopoly, like your get out of jail free card. So you can just go into research.gov or Fastlane, and you can just click on the grantee approved no cost extension. Once you click on that, it will automatically extend your award another year. Now, if you skip that grantee approved no cost extension and say you go to the NSF approved no cost extension, you forfeit the one in blue. So always use the grantee approved no cost extension. That is your freebie. You don't have to ask, you don't have to, well, you have to submit it in the system, but you don't have to go into details of why you need another year. You just click the button and it's already extended. Now, let's say you go through that year and you realize, oh my God, I need another year. That's when the NSF approved no cost extension will go in. So make sure you have that one. And the difference between the two is you'll get an amendment on the NSF approved one, but you will not get an amendment on the grantee approved, okay? So grantee approved is your freebie. The NSF is the approved no cost extension, is the one where the program officer will review it, and then you'll get an amendment from our division. Okay. Question. Can I request a no cost extension if the grant does not have any remaining funds? What do you guys think? Okay. All right. Another question. Can I request a no cost extension when there's an overdue report? What do you guys think? Okay. All right. So the answer is to both of them. No. You cannot ask for a no cost extension when you have an overdue report. Why? Because the system blocks you from doing any kind of activities. Like there's literally a hard block in the system. Even if we wanted to do it, we couldn't even issue it because you have an overdue report. Overdue reports are extremely an issue. So make sure, even if you have, say, a sub-award or whomever you're working with, make sure you give them deadlines so you're not late, because if you have any other activities, any other pending awards or any administrative actions, nothing can happen because you have an overdue report. And it can't just be sent and submitted to NSF. It has to be submitted and reviewed and approved by the program officer. So make sure that you are timely on your project reports. You cannot request a no cost extension if you don't have any money, because how are you running the project if you ran out of money? Okay, so that's pretty much self-explanatory. Okay, so annual reports, we just gonna walk right into it. 90 days, they're due 90 days prior to the end of the current budget period, okay? And sometimes saying you don't get the award on the start date that you wish, and maybe it's delayed, you're still going to submit, whether it's 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, you're still going to submit that report based off the activity, okay? Sometimes it's not going to be a full year, and that's okay, but you still need to submit that your report 90 days prior to. Okay, if you do not submit your request, there is literally like a snowball effect of things, like I was just mentioning, that you just can't do, and it can cause a lot of problems. And also, speaking of that, saying if you have a co-PI on your grant and they have an overdue report or a report that they haven't submitted, your project can then be affected too, because if they're overdue, it blocks the system as well. So you can have people that are associated with your project that are not in compliance with submitting their annual reports that can also delay your project. So keep that in mind. Make sure you're having quarterly meetings with your team, your co-PIs, et cetera, making sure everybody's on time, on track, so you won't run into these problems, because the annual reports are a huge issue, especially when it comes down to the last quarter, the fourth quarter of the year, and we're trying to get this money out the door. And I think I forgot what we got this year, but we do have a budget, and so we got the money. So we want you to, make sure once you get your annual reports in, and if you're under, say, what we call a continuing award or a standard award, just spend your money. And why am I talking about spend your money? If you don't spend your money, and say you go through all the 5 years and you still have money left over, NSF doesn't get that money back. That money is now gone and it goes to Treasury, and we can't retrieve it. So make sure that you are spending your money as well. That was another sidebar. Okay, project outcome reports. Now this is huge, and I'm gonna let you guys read it, but what I want you to take away from this is, please do not submit your project outcome report if you're not done with the project. I know that sounds really simple, but you'll be amazed how many people submit it and say, oh, well, it said it was due. Yes, it may say it's due, but if you are not done, do not submit the report. It's going to give you a prompt and say, are you sure you want to submit this project outcome report? Because what you're doing, you're telling NSF and the general public that you are done with this project, and here are your findings. This is what you discovered. But if you're not at that point, don't do this, because once you do that, it's a lot of moving parts to revoke and reverse a project outcomes report, and it takes a lot of time and energy through different divisions to reverse something that you didn't need to do in the first place. So if you're not ready to submit, don't submit. Ignore those alerts until you are ready. And if you have any questions about that, saying you might need a no-cost extension, do that no-cost extension first, but do not submit that project outcome report, because if you're submitting that outcome report, you're telling NSF, like I said, that you are done with your project, okay? So top 4 reasons why there's a delay in proposal process. And we talked about most of them. Overdue reports. Please, please, please make sure you get your reports in on time. Talk to your program officers if there's any problems that you're having during your grant year, because if you're not talking to them and you're trying or you're stuck, they're going to know in the overdue. They're going to know in the report. Even if the report is late, they're going to know something's wrong. So be in constant communication with your program officer. Also, the lack of budget justification. That is really, really huge. You can't say you're going to ask for $1 million and give a paragraph worth of budget justification, because we want to know where this money is going. So for every dollar that you have, you should be able to break it down in your budget justification. If you don't, the Division of Grants and Agreements, we're going to ask for a revised budget justification so we can actually understand where this money is going. Also, if we ask for a revised budget, we're going to ask for it because something is missing. Don't panic. Usually if we're asking for this information, that means that you're close to getting the award. But if you ignore us, you won't get the award. So usually I always tell grantees, hey, I got some good news, I got some bad news. Bad news, I need a revised budget. Good news, you're going to get some money if you turn it in. So usually it works that way. Also, failure to respond to NSF requests. And that's from the programmatic side and the Division of Grants and Agreements. When we send you something asking for clarification, we need a document, we need a signature, please comply with those requests, because those requests will get you your award faster. If you ignore those requests or you don't respond at all, there's nothing we can do. The road stops, and we can't move forward until we actually have that information. So those are the main reasons why, when you call and say, oh, well, what's the status of my grant? It might be one of these reasons. Maybe not all, but these are the top 4, okay? And as always, ask early, ask often. There's never a bad question, a stupid question. We get questions all the time. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable, no matter how many times we got to answer the question, until you are comfortable with the answer. We're here to help you. So feel free to ask us early, ask us often. And with that, I think I'm okay. And we will now go into the chat and answer some questions. So feel free to go into the chat. If there's something that I didn't discuss that you want to talk about, feel free. And I'm gonna stop this so I can see your faces and ask away. Okay. K-12 teachers, okay. Is that my first question? I want to make sure. Okay. And this is from Enrico Pontinelli from New Mexico State. Okay, so I've been to New Mexico State. That was a few years ago. So loved the campus. It was warm. I think I even had a nosebleed because of I can't even remember. Anyway, okay, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, your question, you said altitude, thank you. I don't know where that word was just missing. Anyway, K-12 teachers. So saying if you're at New Mexico State and you have K-12 teachers, you can have them if they are saying from other, like saying they're from a school district, things of that nature, right? The issue becomes if you had staff at New Mexico State that was participating in the workshop, et cetera, they are not deemed participants. Those K-12 teachers, yes, but not saying the staff that wants to go to the workshop. Now, also, that doesn't mean that they can't attend, but they can't be compensated for going, okay, if that makes sense. Now, sometimes there might be a need for faculty to go and they need to be compensated. If that is the case, sometimes what happens, I always tell grantees to put that in G6 other costs. So you would have to explain why these particular individuals need to be compensated, but that's the short answer. Thank you, Denise. The budget for this year is $8.5 billion. So that's really good. I hope you guys are taking opportunities to look out for grant opportunities, even outside of the EHR directorate. I tell grantees all the time, please do not get stifled or tunnel vision when it comes to opportunities where it just says minority represented or HBCU or things like that, because we're looking for broader impacts and intellectual merit across the directorate. So we want you to apply in engineering. We want you to apply in polar programs, no matter what your institution. We want to see these opportunities. And with the new administration, they're really looking for diversity and inclusion. So this is a new day as far as our where NSF is going, and we're excited about moving the science forward. So this is also an opportunity for you guys to look for other opportunities. Question. Let me go here and look. Okay, and this is from, okay, it's from, is it Rahava? Did I say that right? And you're from Prairie View? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, from Prairie View and
Okay. I have not been to Prairie View. It's on my list. So hopefully one day I will actually get there. I have a lot of friends that graduated from Prairie View, so that's good. Okay.
it is about time.
Yeah, it's about time. So past COVID, and hopefully in the next year or two or something, we can actually get out and get out to the school. And your question was, let's see, I'll make sure. I'm trying to scroll without.
Since I'm on the microphone, maybe I can ask. So if we have some funds in the capital equipment category, which we don't anticipate using, then is it possible to move those to other categories? And I know earlier you said, hey, you could move them around, but the problem with the capital equipment is there is a no IDC charged on those. So is it just the university, since it is the university that loses the IDC, or I don't know how that exactly works, but what are the implications for that particular issue?
Yeah, so saying if you had equipment or you didn't need it, and now you couldn't charge an IDC on it, and now you want to move it somewhere else, the institution would have to basically make an adjustment, and they would make that adjustment. So they would have to charge, saying they put it in supplies, just for sake of example, they would have to charge the indirect cost rate to that money that was once in equipment that they didn't charge, but then when they moved it, they would have to charge it.
Okay.
Perfect. Let's see here.
Yeah, sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So actually, we requested student support for like PhD student support, and and understanding that we will be funding student tuition and student stipend both.
Okay.
But as recently, when we were trying to fund student tuition, we got the question that you have not mentioned that specifically in the budget justification. So, so shall we just request a note from from our program manager, or we should just, or there is some like this PPAG, or like there is something which we can refer to our program or OSP?
So your office of sponsored programs is asking for additional justification?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can send it to your program officer, and you CC me, and then I'll chime in on it as well. Usually those kind of questions are usually the office of sponsored program is erring on the side of caution, because they usually are a little afraid to have the authority that they already have. So that's fine. So just send us an email on that particular issue, and we'll address it and give you the feedback that you need so you can move forward. But it's not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Okay, Patrick, thank you, from Southern University, been there before. Let's see, Aja from UC Merced, can non-participant support costs be used to nominally compensate students for helping with administrative functions? Okay, where's AJ? Come on.
Yeah, can
Come
I
on
just clarify?
Yeah.
So there are things like, like managing the cluster, the computer cluster that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, so things of that sort, and mentoring other students. Yeah, these are graduate students.
They're graduates. Okay, so there's a graduate student line on your budget page, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So where's the money that you have it allocated at? In participant support?
Oh, we don't have this. This is something we were thinking, we need this.
Okay.
Can we use kind of money that we have allocated for maybe other stuff? Like we currently don't have our coordinator, we're in between coordinators. So there's some money, can we, that's kind of salary for staff. Can we use that to support graduate students in some sort of administrative role?
It depends on where the money was initially.
Mm-hmm.
Where was
it's outside participant?
It
in
was
staff,
already outside.
staff
It was
salaries.
already there.
Yeah, it's already outside. It's in staff salaries.
Okay.
And yeah, and we currently there's a hiatus in that staff position. So could we use some of that money to support somebody who?
Oh yeah, I don't foresee that being a problem. I always tell grantees when you have those kind of situations, I always talk to you, Victor or Emmanuel, one of the program officers, just to make sure. But as far as from a DGA perspective, I don't see a problem with rebudgeting those costs. Doesn't seem like a problem.
Okay. All right. And the students, but probably not international or DACA students.
Right. Correct.
So even staff cannot be international.
Well, the staff part, are they being compensated off the grant? Or
the staff?
You saying when you're saying the staff is are they hired because of the grant, or were they already hired from UC?
No, they're hired through the grant.
So that wouldn't work.
Okay, so no, per U.S. citizens, permanent residents. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you, AJ. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Rashawn, can I add a little bit to the administrative part?
Yeah, I'm talking about administrative support. Go for it.
Sure. So your university's indirect cost rate generally covers your administrative costs. There's a line item on the NSF budget called, I think it's secretarial support. It would have to be well-defined and necessary for you to charge it at a direct cost. Generally, you wouldn't see administrative costs as a direct cost, but you would have to provide a detailed budget justification as to why that student or that employee is necessary in that administrative function. Because again, your indirect cost rate pool generally covers those costs. Thank you, Rashawn.
Yeah, he was talking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I was talking about already budgeted funds that, that was budgeted for the specific kind of coordinators, project scientist position, things like that. So yeah, so all right, I will talk with Victor and Manuel and you. I'll follow up with it. All right, thank you very much.
No problem.
I also have one question.
Sorry, that was my timer. Go ahead.
So basically, it's a weird question, but what we're going to do if the university does not help us to fulfill our obligation?
When you say fulfill your obligation, could you expound upon that?
So basically, let's say, for example, I got a fund like last year, and I order like some device like laptops for my students, and I still haven't got that one yet. So they are not helping me to help purchasing those stuff. So what should I do in this situation?
Was there a delay?
Yeah, the delaying.
Okay. And what was the latest communication you had with them about the order?
A week before.
Okay. And they're still on back order? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, like they are saying that they're gonna order, but they haven't placed order yet.
Okay. Stay on them.
And it has been more than a year. Almost a year. Yes.
It's a year. Okay.
Yes.
And their reasoning was that they were going to order, but they haven't.
Yeah. They're passing my time.
Okay. Yeah. If you could just send me an email regarding this particular one, and then I can maybe ask some questions on behalf of NSF, asking why hasn't this been done? It's just been brought to my attention. So just send me an email on that, and then I'll follow up with the office response programs and see if I can get a little push going now that we've been alerted.
All right, thank you.
Oh, no problem. Keep them coming.
So, if it so this is a little bit kind of going in the back of my head because it is a COVID impacted time, and actually, so we are kind of we were waiting for some like employees to be hired on time, but I think it just got delayed. So in short, actually, our spending rate is not at the best.
Mhm.
So we are kind of just trying to do the best we can in the given circumstances. And so I'm just trying to understand, is it a kind of really very big concern? Because I think now we are ramping up, but I think in the past, but I'm just kind of concerned, like our 2 years are almost will be getting completed. And I just don't want to kind of, or I hope like it doesn't reflect badly on us.
No, I think you're okay. And guess, given where we are currently, if there's, I mean, especially with COVID, we know things were delayed, postponed, halted, etc. So we're aware of those kind of situations. So don't panic if you haven't been able to spend. But I would make sure that, you know, if you need a no-cost extension, not that you got to request it, but just keep that in the back of your mind. And as soon as it comes a time, go ahead and put in that no-cost extension, and hopefully, you know, you can ramp up and spend those funds down. The goal is to make sure that you're using the funds, because when you don't use the funds, like I said earlier, those funds they don't go back to NSF. They don't go back into this program. They go to Treasury, and we can't retrieve them. And then on another thing that a lot of grantees are not aware of, you know, this information is now then given to Congress. So when we're trying to push our budget, and we're saying, okay, we had 8.5 this fiscal year. Hey, we want to ask for 10. But if we're getting however many billions back since they were unspent, our case doesn't really have that much clout, because we're sending money back. So the less money we have available that goes back to Treasury, it makes us look good. So then we can ask for more funding. So then that funding can then go to you all. So that's why we constantly push you guys saying spend the money, because basically you are the catalyst of if we get more money based on your spending.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will do all that.
Spend the money. We have plenty. Spend the money.
So actually we were given this, like, it's a 5-year grant, but we initially, our 2-year budget was released. And now I think, so I'm just wondering, like, what is the process, or do we need to do something, or so what is the process for furthering after 2 years?
So if you got the first 2 years up front, basically, we did what we call a forward fund. We basically gave you, say, fiscal year 1 and fiscal year 2 up front, right?
Yeah.
So each year, you're still supposed to submit your annual report.
Yeah.
Once you submit that second annual report, it's going to trigger what we call a mass commitment run, or a CGI, a continuing grant increment. Once you submit that annual report and it's been reviewed and approved by Manuel or Victor or your program officer, it should hit. Now, what happens sometimes, depending on when what we call the CGI mass commitment run, which is continuing grant increment. So we basically, the systems people literally pull all the increments down and a pull, and they hit a button, and then it's just released. Sometimes, depending on when that annual report was approved, it may have not gone in that mass commitment. And what happens, the program officer has to manually send it down to my office, which isn't a problem, nothing to panic about. And then basically what we do, we then issue your amendment, which releases your next increment. So if you have already submitted your annual report and you haven't got your increment, you can either let me know and I can check and see where we are. It could be that it wasn't a part of the mass commitment run, and program might need to PO recommend it so we can actually get it to you.
Thank you very much. It is very relieving to know.
Okay, good. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
You got 17 minutes left, so use me while you can. Okay.
Hi, so this is Turul Giray. Yeah, I am wondering a situation. We have submitted a 3-way collaboration supplement that was for last year. it was going to be Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and Florida. 3 CREST programs, all environmentally focused, and we were going to join expertise, etc. But we heard nothing. It's still live on the system, but we are, you know, is it because it was Trump and now it's going to differ, or I should forget about it, submit it again? What, you know, what are we supposed to do?
That's not on me. That's
That's on our side. We are that is in process. That's all I can say right now. My apologies. We're working on that, but that's not on Rashawn's side. That's on our side. I'll leave it at that.
So I just thought that maybe we did something procedurally wrong. So that's why I was, okay. So we're waiting.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Manuel, on that, because I was like, oh my God, did I do something?
No, not you at all.
So another thing that you guys should really consider is how many of you guys actually been on a panel? You ever been on a panel? A few? Yeah?
Shall
Okay,
we do
good.
that on chat?
Yeah, that's fine. But I strongly encourage you to take that opportunity to sit on a panel. It is a great opportunity for you guys to really see behind the scenes what those proposals look like. And if you ever got a declination on a proposal, it is pretty much like the gold ticket, like American Idol. Because once you go into a panel and you see the great proposals and you see the bad ones, you have basically the insight of say, okay, I know exactly what they're looking for. I know what not to do, what to do. And it really does help you construct a really strong proposal. So I want to make sure that I encourage you all, if you haven't done it, please reach out to your program officers and make sure that they are aware that you're interested in doing it, especially now since we're doing them all ad hoc and virtually. It's still a great opportunity for you to really get inside NSF. I tell people all the time, if you really want to know how to be successful, getting an award from NSF, being on a panel is pretty much the best way. I can tell you all the things and all the tips in the world, but once you actually see a proposal and you go through and you have these really high-spirited debates over these proposals, you really gain a wealth of knowledge that is literally priceless, and you can't really duplicate it. So it's a great opportunity. If you haven't done it, please, please, please do it. It really will help you in the process for future proposals. Also, make sure that you are constantly looking for opportunities. Another thing that I've seen, especially in this community, that we get very comfortable with, let me just see how this works. I'll be all right. I'm gonna look at this. We're gonna do this project for 2 years and then we'll look for another opportunity. Do not do that. Because if you do that, you run the risk of basically being in the loop. And when I say being in the loop, what do I mean? You know, if you have saying this is your first time to NSF and now you had an award and you're great, now 5 years have gone by. What happens then is we don't know how you've been handling your finances. We don't know how your accounting system is going. We don't know what your policies and procedures are. So what we do, we ask for a review, a financial review. And in that review, 5 years later, you could have been awarded a grant and 5 years later, you could be declined. So, but if you're constantly applying and receiving awards from NSF, that conversation that I just mentioned goes away because you're constantly proving that you, for one, can handle federal funds and you are in the pipeline. It's almost like getting a credit card and you never use it. How does the credit card company report to the credit agency that you have good credit if you don't use the card? So it's the same principle. You have to stay in the pipeline. And so if you're not getting alerts from NSF, please make sure you do that. I think it's, I can't remember the alert, but if you go into nsf.gov, there's a little click and it says, want to get alerts from NSF, click on that. And it's going to give you an opportunity to see what's coming down the pipeline. We have a lot of great ideas that are coming. Dr. Ponch is really, really innovative and really pushing us forward. So we really want to make sure that this community in particular is at the forefront of those opportunities. And just know that, when those kind of quick on the spot kind of opportunities come, we want to make sure that this community is aware. We had COVID-19 proposals that came out, and I don't know if everybody was even aware that we had them, but they were out and they were in quick, and they were roughly around, I think around 300,000 per proposal. But some people said, well, I didn't know. And I was like, how did you not know? We wanted you to get this money. And strangely enough, as I'm talking, yes, I actually have to beg grantees to apply for opportunities. Like beg them to apply for opportunities, which is crazy, but it's true. Because we're looking for basically the students, the populations, the science that you have right on your campuses. So we need you because you're going to progress the science of the National Science Foundation in the country. And that's my spiel. Because I think I got 2 minutes left before I go off. In my branch chief says I start preaching, so I'm trying not to do that this go round. I miss you guys virtually. I wish I was there because it would usually be a little more interactive. So, but hopefully, once we get through this, we will be able to actually meet and really, really dig in and have a really good time, learning a lot. And even if we're in this virtual environment, make sure that you collaborate, reach out to other partners, other institutions. If there's a question that you have, feel free to reach out to us. Is there any other questions that I missed? Anyone? Or you have any other questions?
Rashawn, I have one for you.
Oh, now when the boss asks you a question, that's
No, it's for the community. Maybe someone's thinking about it, but they're not asking the question.
Okay.
So if I get a no-cost extension, does that delay or postpone my annual progress report?
No, it does not. You're still responsible for submitting your annual report. It doesn't delay it. So if you get a no-cost extension, basically it's going to advance you another year, but it's still going to say your annual report is due. So sometimes I think grantees think that if I do this no-cost extension, I will not have to do another annual report. No, it's going to pop up immediately, and you're going to get an alert saying your annual report is now due. So yes, that's how that works. And also remember, your 5th annual report is your final report. So it's not 5th year and then a final report. Your 5th year is your final report as well. Also, I'm trying to think of other things that I've seen.
Just to comment on that.
Yes, Maria.
Your 5th years is your final unless you have a no-cost extension, right?
Correct. Unless you have a no-cost extension, then you have that one is due, and then you'll have another one that's going to be due 12 months later. Right. Also, remember, I know this sounds so crazy, but I always like to say this. Make sure, even if your progress is not where you want, be honest, be candid. Do not copy and paste from year 1 to year 2. The program officers read the reports in detail, and they will see if there's something that looks identical from the previous years. You'll be amazed how many Office of Inspector General reports we have because of plagiarism, falsifying documents. I can go on and on. I always suggest grantees to look at the OIG report. It really gives you insight of what is going on in the science community, all the things you don't want to do. And I always use that as a nice friendly reminder that we have just as many lawyers that are in the courtrooms dealing with science issues and integrity and intellectual property. I mean, we can go on and on, but it happens. So we want to make sure that we're never on that side. I always tell grantees, if you see me, that's a good sign. If you see somebody from OIG, might be a little concerned, but usually you can still weather the storm and get through it. But usually make sure if I come out to see you, I'm really trying to help you. So I say, if you have any questions, any concerns, if you just need more clarification, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. It's never, oh, I don't want to bother you. Don't take that approach. Feel free. Make sure, like Janelle said, to include, when you do reach out to us, include your grant number in the subject line. That is extremely important because grantees will call us or email us and say, oh, da 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 da, and they'll just go through with their problem and they don't give us the grant number. And we process and award over 12,000 awards each year with a staff of about 40 of us. So we don't know your number as much as you probably think we do. So it's really important that you tell us in the subject line your grant number. And then that way, even if we can't respond immediately, we can already start doing the background research and getting back to you saying, okay, this is what we found, this is what's going on. So that helps us out a lot. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I wish I had longer time, but now I have to go because I have another one in 5 minutes. So I appreciate the opportunity for allowing me to speak to you guys today. And I hope you guys are enjoying the virtual conference, and hopefully we'll be able to see each other soon in person. So with that, Manuel, I think I'm done.
And thank you so much, Rashawn. Greatly appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Victor, on behalf of Victor and Marilyn, thank you for attending this part of the session. Thank you, Janelle, Denise. I see you in the room also. Thank you for chipping in to answer questions. I believe the next hour for the CREST team coming up is you have an opportunity to visit some of the poster sessions that are available for the video poster session, so to speak. So I will see you around. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one. Enjoy your conference.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.